Section 1.3, Complex Numbers, Part 6, Factorable Equations. So sometimes we have a quadratic equation that looks like a quadratic equation, but it's not. But it could possibly be factorable. So let's look at this. This kind of takes the shape of a quadratic equation. It's a trinomial, and we see that the first term power is, if we took the square root of that, we'd have the second, so the square root of x to the fourth is x squared, same as when it's x squared and x to the first. So we might consider trying to factor something like this. So we would set it up and think about, okay, what would we multiply to get x to the fourth? And notice our middle term are x squares, so if we put x squares here, then we'll do first times first, x to the fourth, right? And then when we gather our outside and inside, those will be x squared terms. Continuing with the factoring, it looks like we need a plus 4 and a minus 1. So if you quickly check first times first, x to the fourth, then we get a minus x squared and a positive 4x squared for the positive 3, and 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So x plus 4 equals 0, or, x squared plus 4 equals 0, or x squared minus 1 equals 0. So now we'll solve those two quadratic equations. So we can use the square root method to solve. X squared equals negative 4, and on the right, x squared equals 1. So notice on the left, we're going to get a complex number. It's going to be a non-real because we have a square root of a negative. Square root of x squared, we're taking the square root of both sides, and we get the two solutions, plus or minus, likewise on the right. So rewriting these on the next slide, this is where we are. So the square root of x squared is x, and we have plus or minus, and let's break that apart. This is what our thinking is. We take the negative 1 separate from the 4, and we get plus or minus 2i. On the right, of course, 1 is a perfect square and a real number, so plus or minus 1. So we have factored this fourth degree equation using sort of quadratic equation methods, and then use the square root method to solve those two quadratics, and now we have a solution set. It was a fourth degree equation. We found 4 solutions, and we write them in our solution set.